Hello, guys and girls, men and women. This new story is called The Reflection. It all started with a mirror. Mara found it at a flea market on the outskirts of town, tucked between a stack of dusty furniture and chipped porcelain dolls. It was tall, framed in black wood, carved with twisting vines and snarling faces. Something about it pulled at her. It was beautiful in a gothic kind of way, cold, elegant, forgotten. "It's old," the seller muttered, not meeting her eyes. "Free-owned. You sure you want it?" Mara nodded, ignoring the tight feeling in her chest. It was just a mirror. She paid in cash. When she brought it home, she leaned it against the hallway wall across from her bedroom. It was too heavy to mount, and she liked the way it filled the narrow space. She admired it for a moment, how it made the hall look longer, how it caught the soft lamplight in strange angles. She smiled. That was the last time she remembered smiling near the mirror. It started with small things. The mirror never seemed quite right. During the day, the reflection was normal, but at night, it felt wrong, off by a second, like it lagged behind her movements, as if it was thinking about them before it followed. She noticed it one night after brushing her teeth. She turned off the bathroom light and walked past the mirror. Her reflection stood a moment too long before turning to follow her. She froze. Goosebumps crawled down her arms. She stared at her reflection. It stared back. Same hair, same clothes, but the expression wasn't right. It was too blank. Watching her, she blinked. It blinked. She laughed at herself, uneasy. Just a trick of the mind. Sleep deprivation. But she started avoiding the mirror at night. Still, she couldn't bring herself to cover it or move it. It felt like it wouldn't let her. 3 nights later, Mara woke up at 3:13 a.m. She didn't know why. The house was silent except for the ticking of the wall clock and the low hum of her refrigerator. But she felt something, like she wasn't alone. She rolled over and saw the mirror through her open bedroom door. It was just visible in the dark, and something was standing in it. Not her, not now. Someone else. A shape, a woman, tall, hair matted and damp, head tilted at an impossible angle. Her eyes were wide, too wide, her mouth opened in a grin that stretched beyond her cheeks. Mara bolted upright, but the hallway was empty. She looked back at the mirror. Nothing. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. "Sleep," she whispered to herself. Just sleep, but she didn't, not that night. The next morning, Mara convinced herself it was a dream, a hallucination, maybe. But when she passed the mirror again, she noticed something that made her blood run cold, a handprint, pressed on the inside of the glass. Small, smeared, fingers too long. She tried to wipe it away, but the smudge wouldn't fade. It felt embedded in the mirror, like it wasn't on the surface, but within it. That night, she covered it with a blanket. But the sound began, a soft tapping, from beneath the fabric. Tap, tap, tap. She couldn't sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hard in her throat, and then she heard it, the blanket falling to the floor. She moved the mirror to the basement the next day, dragged it down the narrow steps, scraping the walls. She left it facing the concrete and slammed the door shut. But it was in her dreams now. The woman with the broken neck, the wide grin. She stood in the mirror, mouthing something Mara couldn't hear, over and over again, pointing at her. Then, one night, Mara saw herself in the dream. Not just reflected, but inside the mirror, trapped behind the glass, screaming, the grinning woman watching. When she woke, the tapping was at her bedroom door. 3 slow knocks. She didn't move, didn't breathe. In the morning, she found the door slightly ajar, and on the floor, a single shard of black glass. Mara's mental state unraveled over the next week. She tried to throw the mirror out, tried to smash it, but it wouldn't break. Even when she took a hammer to it, the mirror only absorbed the blows, the glass rippling like water. mocking her. Desperate, she returned to the flea market, but the seller was gone. No booth, no trace. At home, the mirror was back in the hallway. Waiting, she saw her reflection as she entered, and something snapped. Her reflection blinked. She hadn't. She took a step. The reflection didn't follow. It smiled, and then lunged at the glass. Mara screamed and stumbled back, but the mirror didn't shatter. Instead, her reflection was gone, replaced by the grinning woman. Mara ran, but no matter where she went in the house, the mirror appeared. In the kitchen, the bathroom, her closet, waiting, watching. The last time anyone saw Mara was a neighbor catching a glimpse of her through the window, standing perfectly still, facing her hallway mirror at 3:13 a.m. The next day, her house was silent, empty. No one answered the door. The police found no signs of a struggle. Everything was untouched, except the mirror. In the hallway, the blanket lay crumpled on the floor beside it. And in the reflection, if you looked closely, there was a smudge behind the glass. A handprint, and a face, mouth open, screaming, but only if you looked long enough. This story is called The Harvest Moon. The town of Belmere had always been quiet, tucked between the misty pines of the Pacific Northwest. It was the sort of place where people left their doors unlocked, where kids still played outside until dark, and where nothing ever really happened until the night of the harvest moon. Every year, the townsfolk celebrated with a fall festival, pumpkin carving, hay rides, cider booths, and a bonfire that lasted until dawn. This year's moon was said to be the brightest in decades, glowing fat and golden in the sky. But no one remembered the old legends anymore about what the harvest moon really signified, or why the early settlers had stopped marking it altogether. That night, Clara Jennings stood behind her apple cider stand, her breath visible in the crisp air. She was 17, annoyed that her parents made her work the family stall while her friends partied at the bonfire. It wasn't fair. She didn't believe in curses or witches or whatever old superstition people mumbled about in half-forgotten stories. She didn't notice the first scream. The music from the square stage drowned it out, but the second one was louder, and the third came with panic in its pitch. Clara stepped out from behind the booth and scanned the crowd. People were running. A man crashed into her, knocking over a barrel of cider. He was bleeding from the mouth, eyes wide with terror. Then she saw it, something lumbering through the crowd, pale and hunched, with skin sagging from its bones like wet paper. It tackled a woman near the fudge stand, tearing into her throat with yellow teeth. The sound was horrible, wet crunching, gurgles, and a low moan that rose above the chaos. Clara froze. More of them came, stumbling from the woods, crawling out from the cornfields surrounding the town. Dressed in the tattered remnants of old pioneer clothes. One had a rusted musket fused to its skeletal hands. Another dragged a snapped-off scythe, its blade blackened with old blood. The dead had come back, and they were hungry. Clara ran. She darted through the panicking crowd, dodging overturned booths and bloody corpses. She ducked into a side alley, breath ragged, heart pounding. She had to get home, to her parents, to her little brother Toby. The streets of Belmere were littered with the fallen. Some twitched, half-eaten but still alive, screaming. Others lay still, their eyes already clouding. Clara didn't look long. She couldn't. The monsters were behind her. At the Jennings home, the front door stood ajar. "No, no, no," she whispered, pushing inside. "Mom? Dad?" Silence. Then a soft sob. Clara crept toward the living room. Toby sat curled under the coffee table, his face streaked with tears. "They got them," he whispered. Mom screamed. Dad tried to stop them. Then they ate him. Clara knelt and pulled him out, hugging him tightly. "We're getting out of here. We have to. Outside. The moaning had grown louder. The dead were filling the town, moving with terrifying purpose. It was as if the harvest moon had stirred something in them, a hunger tied to that eerie golden light. Clara grabbed her father's shotgun from the hall closet and loaded it with trembling hands. She'd never fired it before. Now, she didn't have a choice. They made it to Main Street, where survivors had gathered, maybe 24, surrounded by makeshift barricades of overturned trucks and crates. Sheriff Halvorsen was there, bloodied but alive, barking orders. His deputy was gone, and half his face looked like it had been clawed off. "What the hell is happening?" Clara asked. The sheriff didn't answer directly. "Keep your head low. Shoot anything that doesn't talk back. We hold until dawn." The dead were relentless. They swarmed the barricades in waves, some barely more than skeletons in rags, others fresh, recognizable even. One was Clara's math teacher. Another was the old woman who ran the antique store. They came with rotting fingers and gnashing teeth, and the town's last defenders fired and fought and screamed until their voices gave out. But they kept coming, and they didn't stop. By 3 a.m., only 8 were left. Clara crouched beside a blood-smeared pickup, her shotgun empty, her arms numb. Toby sat beside her, silent now, his face a pale mask. They'd watched too many friends die, watched them get pulled down and torn apart. The sheriff staggered up, his hand pressed against his stomach. Blood seeped between his fingers. "There's a place," he gasped. "Old church, on the hill. Warded ground. They won't cross it." "Warded?" Clara asked, incredulous. "It's why the settlers built it. They knew this day would come." Another moan interrupted them. The horde was closing in again. "We have to go," she said, grabbing Toby's hand. The survivors ran. The church loomed in the distance, half forgotten and buried in ivy, its steeple broken and cross-bent. Yet as they reached its threshold, something changed. The howling stopped. The dead halted, their hollow eyes watching, waiting, but not stepping closer. The sheriff collapsed inside the doorway. Safe for now. Inside, the air was thick with old incense and dust. Candles flickered on warped wood. A faded mural behind the altar showed an angel holding back a tide of corpses, bathed in golden light. "What is this place?" Toby whispered. Clara found an old journal tucked behind the altar, its pages brittle. She flipped through them, reading aloud in the dim light, "In the year of our Lord 1821. We built this ground with salt and sacred blood. The harvest moon awakens the forgotten, those who died unblessed, their bones resting in cursed earth. We cannot stop them, but we can contain them. Bind them until the moon fades." There was a ritual, a sealing, but it required blood, sacrifice. "We can do it," Clara said. "We have to. We seal them again. End this." But the dead would not wait forever. At dawn, they surged forward, some climbing over each other to reach the church. The barrier held, barely. Clara read from the journal, voice steady despite the screams outside. She stood before the altar, chalked sigils on the stone floor, lit ancient incense with trembling hands. Then the final step, blood. Hers. The ritual demanded a living sacrifice from Belmir's bloodline, one who bore the town's mark, born under the harvest moon. Clara was born on October 1st, the same night as the festival. She pressed the knife to her palm and cut deep, letting the blood drip into the sigil. The ground shook. Outside, the dead screamed, writhing as invisible fire licked their bones. One by one, they fell, howling, disintegrating into ash. The light of the harvest moon began to dim. Silence. It was over. Clara collapsed beside the altar, pale but alive. The ritual had spared her. Though barely, she would carry the scar forever. Toby hugged her tight, sobbing. The others emerged from behind the pews, shaken, hollow-eyed, but breathing. Belmir was broken, but not dead. Not yet. Weeks passed. The government called it a gas leak, a mass hallucination. No one believed the survivors, not really. But Clara knew better. She'd seen the truth. Read the words written in blood. The curse had not been broken, only delayed. And the next harvest moon was only 7 years away. The end.